Man, we get a lot of emails about PT and Kojima and Konami and etc.
Like, what about?
All that stuff. So I guess the one thing that happened since last week's podcast was that they rendered PT not downloadable anymore.
Yes.
I don't think we had covered that when we recorded last week. I think that happened afterwards. So even if you quote unquote bought PT and it's on your account, you can no longer re-download it.
Do they want their money back? Because it was free.
Right. So it's a weird situation.
It is.
Because of that. But here's a couple emails about it. Here's one from James. He says, I'm a relatively new listener to the podcast and brand new premium member. First and foremost, thank you guys for the wonderful content you provide. You're welcome. Anyway, enough with the melancholy crap. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. The methods that Konami used to pretty much erase PT from existence. Canceling Silent Hills, delisting PT from PSN, removing the...
I like that he frames this like that was the end game. Like someone just woke up and went, we've got to get rid of PT. Cancel Silent Hills. We're getting rid of PT. Like, no.
Yeah. And then lastly, removing the ability to re-download PT from PSN if you removed it from your local hard drive. Mm-hmm. Do you think this creates a bad precedent for other companies to follow when trying to liquidate or censor one of their failed projects? Or is this just local to Konami, given their possible internal political issues? I realize that some games have been delisted aside from PT, like Mortal Kombat 2 for PS3.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I've seen the case where the ability to re-download it was removed as well. I guess since it was free, that makes it okay. What do you guys think? Especially want to hear Jeff's thoughts on this, as I feel censorship hits him personally. I'm not sure what he meant by that.
Censorship is like not a...
Also, yes, this is not censorship. Censorship is the government telling you what you can and can't say.
We've got to stop them from getting the word out about this game we're not making. I mean, like, this is Konami, you know, like, I think they got out there and said, you know, hey, this Norman Reedus thing expired. We don't have a deal with him anymore, so we can't have this thing out there.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But more importantly, that thing only exists because it is set up to announce Silent Hills.
Yeah.
That thing only exists as a promotional vehicle for Silent Hills. It on its own, it's its own thing, and obviously, you know, people have gotten enjoyment out of that. But it was created to promote Silent Hills, a game that has been canceled. So this is them removing the thing that says, hey, we're making Silent Hills.
Right.
And makes total logical sense in that context.
I never actually finished that thing, but does it end with references to, like, stay tuned for Silent Hills?
It shows some clips. Does it show Reedus?
I think that picture of Reedus is in
late title card where it actually says Silent Hills.
Yeah.
So,
that thing is a surprise announcement for Silent Hills.
Right.
It exists to do that.
Right.
So if Silent Hills is dead...
There's no fucking reason
having
for this
PT kicking around out there is probably a bad move.
Like, it's probably a liability for them. I can understand the business thought process.
But
like, at the same time, like, it's a super cool thing, and I can understand why people would want to hang on to it, but...
And you know, like, this is going to be one of those, like, love finds a way situations where, you know, somewhere down the road, everyone will be able to play PT. It'll be fine.
Yes.
It will exist, you know, someone has already dumped that to another hard drive and is hanging on to it for when the apocalypse comes. Don't you worry.
Operatives have sprung into action on this.
You know, that thing will someday, unless the PS4 ends up like the original Xbox, it'll end up, you know, so you'll find someday. But yeah, like, this doesn't, like, it's a sleazy move by Konami in that they've been making a lot of sleazy moves lately.
Yeah.
But this one is maybe the least sleazy. You can understand why they would do it. And some people were like, they should have just yanked out all the Silent Hill stuff and put it back up. It's like, okay, so you want developers to go back into this dead thing, change it, just so you can continue to have this free ad thing? Like, there's no incentive for them to do that other than goodwill, which they've proven by recent activity. They don't give a fuck
they have none.
what you think about Konami.
Yes.
Like, they don't give a fuck, dude. Like, holy shit, they are
really
burning that thing to the ground.
They really don't.
So, you know, the idea that, like, Konami's going to do right by PT when it can't even do right by all of its other franchises is absurd.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a game company.
100% agree with you.
They are
on
not
that.
a game company.
Yes.
Konami just happens to occasionally make some video games now.
Yep.
Well, then the sooner we start thinking about it that way, the slightly less infuriating this will all become.
That's fair.
Right up until the day where they fucking figure out, like, oh, maybe we could make some money by licensing Contra to someone who gives a shit, or selling it, you know.
And then things will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hyperbolic reaction to this thing going away has been more than a little off-putting.
I get it. Like whatever.
Like,
it's a thing that people had that is like being taken away in an above and beyond measure. That when most things are taken down, it doesn't happen like this.
I mean, that's kind of the larger issue that this guy's raising. Although, I mean, I think what he's getting at is a publisher ever going to take this step with something people paid for, and like that is inarguably beyond the pale, and like that hasn't come to pass yet. And I think
is like lawsuit territory.
I can't imagine.
There's a lot of.
My only fear there is that like is language built into the EULAs at this point.
Sometimes
you're releasing software,
but also if you think about it in terms of like online only games that have their servers shut off,
like those are being de facto basically deactivated.
Basically, yeah. I mean,
you might as well not have them if you can't.
People
play
paid for the Matrix Online.
Yeah,
you can't play that,
right?
Did it have legal wording like in the Matrix Online saying like, hey, at some point,
I can't say specifically in that case, but typically I know like EA games have a lot of stuff like, hey, within like we can give 90 days notice of shutdown and fuck you.
Okay,
is I think literally what it says.
Huh.
Yeah, that's legal.
Yeah. So I'd bet that there's probably, but it's not necessarily about like an EULA and like having that stand up in court. I think there's a lot of like right and wrong type stuff that. It's like, yes, you technically agreed to this thing, but that's not the end of this. This is still fucked, and let's go test it in a court. Because like even when stuff gets delisted on Steam for being shady, you can still download it. Like I can still go download that Rock and Roll Racing ripoff that those guys made.
Is it just when you say delisted, but you can find it? You mean you have to go through like a search function?
No,
it's
or something, still in my Steam library. You just can't purchase a new copy.
So you can't search for it in
from the store.
Now.
You cannot get
delisted from the store, but not from your library.
You cannot buy it.
So that would have been like I think that's the ideal scenario for something like PT, where like it makes sense that they want to delist it, stop people from downloading it. Like I don't know what the Sony agreements are, like who pays for bandwidth on distribution of demos, or like what the deal in that specific case was. It may be where they were like, yeah, we're not going to pay to let people keep downloading this thing that's free, that's not even a game. We're not going to make any of that money back, so kill it. Like I get that.
And then there are factors you mentioned, like the likeness rights with Redis, and
which
like
they threw that out there. That could very well be total bullshit.
It could. But although I can kind of see an argument for like the misleading nature of this thing out there promoting a product that no longer exists.
Yeah, and like asking them to like open it back up and hey, remove the Silent Hills stuff and then put it back up and charge for it. Like yeah, maybe, but like that's not.
That would have been a cool like kind of meet in the middle.
Right,
sort of outcome for this is like clean it up and do whatever you need to do to sell it, and then put it back out there for $5 or whatever.
Yeah,
if that's what people want. But like you said, Konami doesn't.
That involves Konami publishing a video game, and it's well established that's not really their forte.
Which dovetails very nicely into the next email from a person who did not leave their full name, but I'm going to read their email anyway. Hi, Bomb Crew. They're from Australia. I'll tell you that.
You can tell by the way they say Bomb Crew.
Yep.
Bomb Crew.
It says oi. I can tell from their email address. I had a thought regarding Konami's apparent move out of the video game business space. There's currently a bill going through Japanese parliament that would legalize gambling, and it looks like it might pass. I think Konami might be almost uniquely positioned to really take advantage of this, as Konami has just as much history in the gambling space as they do in video games. They are very much a worldwide presence in that market, and they already have a history in service-based / brick-and-mortar business operation with their health clubs. I think Konami may be freeing up as much capital as they can to either get first-mover benefits on having the first Vegas-style casino in Japan, or converting some or all of their health clubs into Australian-style clubs, a description of which would be boring to your listeners. If I was Konami, I'd do both and fill them all with my own slot machines. Who gives a shit about selling maybe an optimistic projection of 5 million copies of Silent Hills and dealing with artists when you could be focusing on a potential whole new stream of Sheldon Adelson level money?
Yeah. I mean, that's
kind of seems like more or less what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, they have a whole division, KPE, which is like Konami Parlor Entertainment or something, and that's the division that put out like the Contra Pachi slot machine, and like they're out there doing that stuff. But the thing is that stuff spits out balls right now. I think the way they get around I think we've talked about it, but I want to say the way they get around the gambling stuff is like those places still exist.
And
you win balls, you trade in balls for groceries,
right,
or something. Like their skee ball tickets or something.
Yep.
You sell the groceries for cold hard cash.
Yeah. just turn these balls into cigarettes because I need to keep sitting in this smoke-filled pachinko parlor. God, those places are nightmares. You think the arcades get bad with smoke over there? Have you ever fucking walked through?
Yeah,
Like, that stuff's nuts.
Because people just like live in the pachinko hall.
Yeah.
It's like an airport smoke lounge.
Yeah.
It's like Vegas. You walk through Circus and you'll see the same type of stuff.
Oh, I don't know if it's quite that bad. I don't think Vegas is as bad.
Smarter about ventilation control and that sort of stuff. Where,
Okay.
like now, it's just like, fuck it, man. Hang out in this haze, and you could play virtual on, or you could go across the street and hang out in an even hazier room that has a bunch of fucking balls everywhere.
Regardless of their intent with the gambling stuff, I mean, this really, the end of the email highlights kind of the issue of dealing with this like high risk, low margin kind of development at the AAA end of games these days,
Yeah,
right?
Video game development is not like, there were certainly people that were excited about the idea of a Silent Hill game, but
Yeah.
like the notion, like, will it make its money back? Like,
Right.
You're attaching big names to it. You're presumably entering into full production with an expensive thing.
Like big names that have a lot of leverage and are probably going to make demands because, creatives always want the resources to make the thing they want to make.
Goddamn creatives.
Well, you know what I mean. Like people always want to make the best video game they can. Like,
Sure.
Whereas these suit wearing business people are trying to probably nickel and dime the development as much as they can and not trickle out a dime more of
I would like to
funding
think
than
there
they
is a
need
little
to.
bit more meeting in the middle than you're painting it as, but yes.
I don't know. Maybe I have a
probably
cynical view of what
simplifying it a little bit,
of what
but-
that struggle looks like.
Yeah.
But
I bet there are creative types that have a business mind.
Oh, sure.
And plenty of business types that go like, let those lunatics do what they want.
no. You're like
I'm gonna hang out here and smoke cigars.
Like you can, again, not to keep harping on the Double Fine thing, but you can watch that to see examples of exactly what you're talking about.
Tim
But,
Schafer smoking cigars. He's firing his business guns all day long.
of people who respect both sides
Yeah,
of it,
totally,
But what I mean is that like it's easier to look at Konami cynically because they are making these moves. It's like they are showing a lot of intent here with what they are slashing and burning already. So it's
They have
easy.
played a lot of their cards.
Yeah, exactly.
They could still have one card that says like, by the way, at E3 we're announcing 9 games, but like, come on.
Yeah, come on. Everything they have done makes it seem like they just don't want to bear that financial burden, that risk anymore of making expensive games that might not sell.
And this has been happening for years.
Yeah.
Like if you look at their output on consoles last year, and the years before that, it was like a shift to mobile, and like it just was not their focus, which is sad because they also own Hudson. So there's another fucking bundle of cool shit wrapped up in a nightmare.
It's going to happen to Master Higgins and all this.
Yeah, right.
Fuck.
I mean, the real Master Higgins, he's no longer there because they got rid of Hudson operations. I mean, 16 shot. What's that dude doing? He's pushing buttons somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Rode a turtle shell right out of there. One last email about all this. Comes from someone who asked